Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Yeah, hello and welcome wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. This is Conscious Radio Network's The Seance Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, please be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow or listen wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, starting over can feel daunting, but it can also be a gateway to a life you truly love. Today, we're joined by Aneta Waclaw, author, speaker, and host of Nourished Inside Out. After breaking free from a toxic relationship, she transformed her pain into purpose, helping others reclaim their self-worth and step into their power. So let's get ready today in an inspiring conversation on healing mindset shifts, and the courage to reinvent your life. Let's welcome to the seance, Aneta Waclaw. Welcome, Aneta.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
You're very welcome, and an honor for you to join us today. And just for those who are listening, we might have some issues because we've been having some internet craziness, but that always happens, right? That always happens. Technology, can't get away from it, but gotta love it. I tell you what, Aneta, relationships are crazy, aren't they? I mean, it's just we just haven't found the sweet spot yet when it comes to relationships, especially those toxic ones. What are your thoughts, and what have you learned from toxic relationships?
You know, it's so interesting, that question, because a lot of times we see relationships when we're at such a young age and we think that's what it's supposed to be like, or whatever kind of relationships that we are exposed to as a young child. That's what we tend to settle for because it's comfortable and it seems normal to us. And I remember, like, I grew up in a family where my parents, they did everything that they could to provide for my brother and I. But there were some missing key factors like communication, showing emotions, those kinds of things that are not in the physical. So I thought that was normal. I thought it was normal that you didn't have to communicate everything. I thought constantly numbing your emotions was a normal thing until later on in my early adult life, I got myself into a really unhealthy relationship. And I realized that all of those things were starting to derail not only the relationship, but also myself, because I was going to something that seemed what was quote unquote normal or comfortable at that time. So I think it really does start in childhood early on how you view relationships, because at the end of the day, what's right and what's wrong? What's normal and what's not normal? What might be normal to somebody else may be completely normal to a different person. So it's really trying to break down what works for you. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I I'm sure you're going to agree with the next question, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, especially who have been in relationships or are probably at that age that you can wear that T-shirt that says "Been there, done that," and it's the imposter syndrome.
Mm.
How common are relationships torn because of imposter syndrome?
Yeah. They're constantly torn because we're constantly going through this identity because of who am I?
Mm,
I think that's one of the biggest questions that we don't ask ourselves enough. Who am I? Who is Aneta? And what does she like to do? What bugs her and what brings her peace? What frustrates her and what brings her joy? If you don't know those things about yourself, then you're never going to be able to explain it to somebody
mm,
else. And I think this thing of imposter syndrome comes because at a very young age, we're taught all we're taught, what we're taught. All you know is all you know. So if you're taught that you need to wear red shoes every single day, then you're going to grow up thinking it's normal for you to wear red shoes every single day. But as we get older, you start going to school, you start hanging out with different friends as you get older, and then people start to say, "Oh, you should go to this college. Oh, you should
mhm,
hang out with this
mhm.
person. Oh, you know what? I know you like basketball, but I think you would be a better soccer player." So then the opinions of the world are pulling us here and pulling us there, and they're trying to shape us into somebody that we're not. And then we get lost in ourselves. Like, who am I? And
Mhm,
I felt like that for a long time because I fell into these people-pleasing habits. I grew up in the dance studio, and I remember I loved ballet so much that I spent 11 years doing it. And then people would tell me, "Oh, you're really good at ballet, but have you ever tried volleyball? I think you do really good at volleyball." Absolutely
Right.
not. If I see a ball coming at me, I will either run or it will knock me out. That is not my area.
Yeah.
So it's like really knowing yourself and not letting the world shape you to who you are.
Yeah. And I think we kind of, with some personal experiences and what, my parents told me growing up, and even today, it's like, I remember when you were interested in this before you can even remember you even existed. It's as we're really young, it seems like we know who we are. We just live with joy, nothing but joy and happiness. And whatever we do, we go out and play, we do this and whatnot. And however we hold ourselves and conduct ourselves as we're growing up, that seems to be the very first thing, the first leading factor in telling us who we are. The only problem, like you said, we're given labels,
Mhm.
we're given this identity, and we get sidetracked and blindsided, and we forget who we really are. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it can be a hard thing because, you can grow up, like, for example, you can grow up with having this big dream to go to college and get a degree in a big profession, like let's say lawyer, right? Let's say you want to be a lawyer because it's expected of you, because you have other lawyers in your family, or maybe one of your parents is. So you can feel obligated to do the same thing, but in reality, you have dreams of owning a juice stand or owning a juice company,
Mhm,
and you're totally neglecting those dreams and you're not following through with who you are and what you enjoy because you're falling into the people pleasing habits of trying to please other people by your decisions. I've done that so many times. I remember when I lived abroad in Mexico. I lived in Mexico the last year, and my parents were not really for the idea,
mhm,
and I remember I was like, okay, well, I'm going to move to this one area. I'm going to get an apartment there because it looks like Chicago. And maybe because it'll remind them of Chicago. So maybe they'll accept me living in Mexico more.
yeah.
Well, I moved to that area. After 1 month, I moved out because I hated it. I completely hated it. It was so far from everything. There was so much traffic and there was nothing there.
Wow.
So I like derailed myself for those 4 weeks just to people please my parents to accept one of my choices. So it really is, it's like standing firm on who are you and backing it up because we're all so unique and we all have our own skills and talents. Why not show them to the world? Don't put a
Mhm.
mask on them.
Yeah. Yeah. What seems to be well, it seems to be one of the big leading factors too is yeah, we gotta listen to our parents. It's just like it's especially depending on what age. But as we get older and stuff like that, we gotta have some level of discernment and start thinking for ourselves. But whether it's our parents, our family, or friends, what is your opinion or what is some of your ideas on training our mind here on stop listening to those people, stop listening to those opinions, maybe have some level of discernment, but there a trick out there that we don't know about on not paying attention and don't take everybody's word for it.
Yeah, the best way that I can explain this, I had to learn the hard way, was you don't have to immediately cut people off because they don't support your dreams or the new path that you're trying to create for yourself. You are able to love them from a distance. But something that stuck with me when I was probably a teenager was I will not take advice from people if they don't have what I want.
Mm,
I can love my parents unconditionally, but if they don't have every single thing that I want to achieve in life, then I'm not going to listen to them in certain areas. If I have friends around me that tell me to do X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to do it if they don't have X, Y, and Z that I am looking to achieve. So it really goes down to where are you what kind of people are you listening to and what kind of information? Because if you want to drive a Lamborghini and the person telling you advice on how to get a Lamborghini doesn't have one, that's
mhm.
not the person you should be listening to. So really having the discernment on who you're listening to.
Yeah, I I remember something my father always told me. God rest his soul. He always said this. He's like, "You always are, or at least in the views of the public, is you become the company you keep. And if you want if you want to be a millionaire, you surround yourself with millionaires. If you want to be a writer, you surround yourself with writers. You you want to be successful, you surround yourself with successful people."
Yes.
And I mean, why like you said, why take advice from somebody who seems at every corner of his life he or she has had these pitfalls and has failed and has nothing to show for it. It's sad to have to do that. You'd be like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And it's like, you I mean, you have your sympathy and you blessings and stuff like that, but you gotta move on to the next successful person that's out there and stuff to get advice from. So it's like you don't want to go to a massage therapist for financial advice.
Exactly. You
Unless
just
they
have
have a
to
double
know
career.
who you're asking and if they're credible.
Yeah, yeah. Um, now, can you share a little bit of your healing journey? Like an oh wow factor. Like, holy crap, this like man, this really changed my whole perspective on things.
Yeah, I was in a really unhealthy relationship. I got married when I was like 21 years old. And then when I was 23, I was like, this is just way too chaotic.
Mm,
And I decided that we were gonna go our own ways. We ended up filing for divorce. And honestly, I don't look back on it with any regret because it taught me so many things that a book couldn't. A book can give me the facts, but real life experience is what teaches you the best. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that I no longer need to search for fulfillment in people, places, and things. I searched for fulfillment in alcohol, in drugs, in my ex, material things for too long, and it didn't get me anywhere until I realized my own worth. And it started by having to understand that I am capable, I am strong, and I'm resilient, and I won't be given anything that I can't handle. The relationship was so chaotic. Like, I always felt like I was the problem. I always felt like I was making the mess. I always felt like the world was sideways because of me. But then I realized after I got out of it, it's like I wasn't fully the problem. Yes, I may have added to it, but it wasn't really that. I was not choosing to love myself, and I was not choosing to accept who I was in order to push past that hurdle. So I believe that it all does start within yourself. What are you saying to yourself? What are you eating? What kind of people are you surrounding yourself with? What are you listening to? All of those things play such a crucial role into who you are. Every single day, we have two choices. You wake up and you have the opportunity to see the good in everything, or you have the opportunity to see the bad in everything. I just chose to see the good in everything. My ex-husband is telling me I'm dumb. Great. That gives me an opportunity to tell myself that I am smart. If he's telling me that I created a mess, I tell myself I make messes and I'm able to clean them up and I'm able to take responsibility for them. So always try to find the good in everything is what I always recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, you got to. It's like, if everybody looked at everything in a negative aspect, I mean, what's the point? How could you even lead a happy life, a joyful life? It's just, yeah, I don't know. But that's why we do what we do as podcasters. And that segues into the next question. You are also a podcaster.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Tell us about the podcast.
Yeah, so I mean, I was born and raised in Chicago, and I was working in the city and working as a hairstylist. And I loved what I did, but that was while I was in a really unhealthy relationship. And then when I left the relationship, I left the salon. I moved abroad to Mexico, and I really wanted to take my healing journey to a deeper level. So I started writing, and I started my podcast, Nourished Inside Out, because I knew that it does start what you put your inside of yourself in order to get the results that you want. So I started Nourished Inside Out based on what I needed once upon a time when I was hurting. Because if I was hurting in those areas, other people are too, and they need to hear that they're going to be okay. And I want to create that safe space of a community for people to be able to open up. Because especially if you're in a relationship that you don't feel heard, you don't feel like you can fully communicate or express who you are, you need a place where you can go. You need a safe space. So that's what I've been creating with Nourished Inside Out is a safe space community with others.
Yeah. For those who are watching, they can see your website scrolling at the bottom. But for those who are listening, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Aneta Waclaw. My podcast is Nourished Inside Out. And then I do my writing on Substack at Nourished Inside Out. And then TikTok, Aneta Waclaw.
Sweet, sweet. And you also got a book.
Yes.
So let me bring that up too. Here we go. Boom. There we go. Blooming with Self-Love. And where can they find this book?
Yes, and that's available on Amazon as well. And it's a 31-day positive affirmations and self-love journaling. If you're not used to telling yourself positive affirmations, if you're not used to journaling, this is a great intro to start getting that out and to start releasing emotions that you've been holding on to. So I highly encourage everyone to get it because it's helped me tremendously as well.
Yeah. What's your Can you share your favorite affirmation?
I mean, it's like 3 pages long, but I'll give you a few.
There you go.
But it always goes back to I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am free, and I am capable. Everything works in my favor all the time, and I am at the right place at the right time all the time. A lot of times we can get into the habit of saying, "Why is this happening to me? This
Mhm.
doesn't make sense." But when you have peace in knowing that you are at the right place at the right time all the time, you will have so much more peace in throughout your days if you just understand that.
Yeah, and what's really important too in affirmations is the I am. I
Yeah.
am is so powerful. People don't realize it's just yeah, it opens up the gateway. It opens up the doors and opens up the gateway into manifestation and abundance. Definitely.
Yes, completely.
Yeah. Um. So, what are some of the top tips um, for uh, letting go of some of the past? You know, people always seem to be hooked to the past, and this happened, that happened, and what are your tricks on and tips on getting past all that?
Number one, if you're going through a hard time right now or you're going through challenges, I hear you. I understand it might be tough. But when I really encourage you guys to learn to forgive people. I know people probably took advantage of you. I know people probably were taking more than they were giving back to you. And that's okay because when you learn to forgive them, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for yourself. Imagine, like, for example, going to the gym and you do a workout with 2 dumbbells. You take those and dumbbells and you don't put them down. You
Mm.
take those dumbbells with you to lunch. You take those dumbbells with you to go brush your teeth, to go hang out with your friends. And you take those dumbbells with you to sleep and you wake up and you put those dumbbells back in your hands. That is what it's like holding on to the baggage of unforgiveness. So when you learn to let go and to forgive, it's not necessarily for that other person, it's for you. So I get it. I mean, I went through the chaos of the chaos with my ex-husband, especially at such a young age. But I have forgiven him for myself so I can walk lighter, so I can walk more freely without having that baggage. So I know it's not easy, but I highly encourage you just learn to forgive other people.
Yeah, it is a lot of it's a lot of baggage, and I mean I've heard stories of just whether guilt, resentment. I mean, it's just or shame or I mean humility. I mean, it sometimes it can be very powerful. Not forgiving somebody can lead to. I've seen some cases of some what's the word, PTSD, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just bad. Just I don't know. But yeah, the how does I see that for the health and wellness podcast, you kind of get a little bit into the whole neuroscience and working with getting the mind and stuff like that. How do you think neuroscience helps with um, healing and self worth?
You are exactly what you believe about yourself, and it all starts with the rewiring of your thoughts. For 3 years in my marriage and like the relationship, because the relationship was a total of 3 years, not the marriage. I was told every single day, you're dumb, you're ugly, all you do is make a mess, you're so embarrassing. I got told that every single day. Why do you laugh so much? And it just didn't make sense to me. And because I was constantly hearing those things, I started to believe I was the problem. I started to believe all I do is make messes. But the reality is after that, I started to rewire my mindset, and I had to learn to believe that all of those were lies. And the neuroscience is you truly are what you say you are.
Mm.
If you say and believe that you're dumb, that's what you're going to portray. But if you tell yourself that you're smart and you're wise and you're funny, then you're going to start to believe that and live that on the outside. So be intentional with your words. I heard this the other day. I was talking to a friend, and we typically go to church together every Sunday. And she was like, "Oh, like I'm not going to go to church today because I'm not feeling good." I said, "Completely fine. Take your time to rest." And then she texted me, she's like, "I just needed some time in bed to rot." And I'm like, "No, that's not that's not it. Like you needed time in the morning to rest, not to rot." Like, so be intentional with what you say, because that's also how you're going to feel on the outside.
Yeah. Words are powerful. Once again, very, very powerful. Thought, emotion, especially how we let our emotions. That's another thing too, is how we react with emotion all the time. When we, especially not shouldn't do it in business, definitely. You start making wrong decisions. What are your thoughts of, trying to, calm these emotions and kind of just stop, think first before we react with these emotions that could otherwise, you know, damage us, damage the future, damage opportunity.
Well, this also really goes back into playing a role on knowing yourself, because everybody handles situations differently. For example, I'll just go on like a relationship aspect. If you're in a relationship with somebody and there's a miscommunication about something, one person likes to talk about it immediately, and the other person wants their space and they want to walk away. You need to know how to communicate that, because if you can't communicate that, the person who wants to walk away and needs space is going to frustrate and irritate the person who wants to talk about it right away if they're not aware, because then anxiety can come up or fear of the unknown. But the reality is, it's just communicate with yourself. Acknowledge your feelings. Don't run from them. If you're feeling sad, it's okay to say, I'm feeling sad because of X, Y, and Z, but then knock it out with another positive. I'm gonna be okay. I can overcome this. And how can you learn to how can you learn to take those negatives or those uneasy emotions and see the good in them?
Mm, yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, how can you learn to see the good? Because that, when you learn to see the good in everything. For example, the other day I was like on my second cup of coffee, and I spilled a little bit of my second cup of coffee. And I had two options. I can be upset about it, or I can be like, you know what? I'm thankful I spilled it because I probably didn't need that much caffeine. It
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
go either way.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to look at the things that happen as something that's telling us something, like a synchronicity. There's a message. There's a message in everything. I believe that. I believe there's a message in everything.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening around us, there's messages happening all the time. And it's just paying attention to them, being apprehensive, being awake. That's the number one thing, is being awake. Don't be on autopilot. It seems like
Yeah.
most people are on autopilot nowadays. They got the thing in their hand and they're walking across the street, a crosswalk, cars coming to stop, and even though the light is red, they don't even look up. Nobody looks up, to look at, wave people. They just stare at the phone. That's it. It's like, what? It's like everybody's got, I don't know. I don't know. What's your opinion on that? It's like people are losing their situational awareness.
Yeah, how many times have you ever driven somewhere, for example, like work or the grocery store, and you get in your car and you drive there and you get to the place and you're like, how did I get here? Because you were so like
Right.
unaware. That actually used to happen to me a lot with work. Like I would get so used to going to the same place, I wouldn't even remember leaving the house. I would just get in my car on autopilot, go there, and then I get to work and I'm like, did I even stop at a stoplight? I don't know what happened. And I was totally sober, by the way. It was just
Yeah.
autopilot. And I would get freaked out by that. So I would try to take different routes to work or try to go to different grocery stores and take different routes to keep my brain aware because it's so easy and it's kind of scary once you're on autopilot like that. Or even yesterday, I was in the elevator in my building and I got off on my floor and I was just on my phone, not paying attention. And then they were okay. But there was just like three people just laying in the hallway. Like they were okay. But I was like, if I took another step without paying attention, I could have stepped on this person.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just really being aware. And when you know you get comfortable, what can you do to reactivate your brain to challenge you?
hmm Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing, man. But before we wrap up the show, what do you have to offer as a takeaway for our audience? Some words of wisdom.
And for some words of wisdom to leave with you, never stop dating yourself. Just fall in love with who you are and date yourself. Go get yourself your favorite cup of coffee. Go for that long walk that you've been asking your friends to and they still don't. I
Mm.
hate it when people say, oh, when the trip finally makes it out of the group chat. No, go take that trip if you want to take the trip. Go to that restaurant if you want to go to the restaurant. It doesn't have to take 5 months to get it out of the group chat. Just fall in love with yourself and do the things that make you happy, and then you'll find out who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't take advantage of yourself. Take care of there's only one person that's going to take that has you number one on the list, and that is yourself. There's nobody else out there that is taking care of that, period. It's just, especially when you get older and your parents pass away and there's and there's nobody out there. Yeah, this is it. Us, myself, you or yourself, that's it. There's no yeah, it's a crazy world, and we're none of us, interestingly enough, none of us will get out of this alive, but take advantage of everything that's out there. Have fun and love yourself, and yeah, absolutely. Netta, namaste. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story and your book and your podcast.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It is an absolute honor.
You're very, very welcome. And thank you, everybody, for watching Conscious Radio Network's The Seance Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.